Alright, hello. Back with another Pioneer video. Uh, I think making the last one worked out pretty well. It's kind of scuffed. We're going to use the media player again, but it does mean I don't have to do any editing, so it takes me as long as recording this video does to make it. So I'm a fan of that. That means I'll actually make stuff, so that's what we're going to stick with for now, so I hope you guys enjoy it. But this is a mono green Spelunking deck that I built. I've been messing around a lot with the Fecund, I don't know how to say that, green shell, the turtle, and a bunch of different decks because it doesn't have a once per turn clause, so if you can keep making mana, you can draw your deck with it and use it sort of like a glimpse. And yeah, that's what we're doing here. So this deck's really similar to the modern Amulet Titan deck, where we're using bounce lands and lands that make more than one mana, plus Spelunking instead of Amulet. Make a bunch of mana, use Aftermath, Analyst, and Lotus Field to sack your lands, get them back, make more mana. Eventually, you can use Mirror Pool to start copying your green shells. You draw your deck. If you mill over your Ulvenwald Oddity, there's a Witch's Cottage to put it back on top. And then you play your Oddity, flip it, all your things get haste, and then you can attack for a ton of damage and just win right away. You'll see this deck's rough. I sort of had the idea, made it, goldfished it a few times to figure some stuff out. But it's not perfect. All the numbers could change in so many different ways. But, you know, it wasn't too bad of a showing for the first go. But yeah, you'll also note all these creatures trigger the green shell, which is nice because these are the type of cards that you already want to play. Like Voyaging Satyr is a card that people have already played with Lotus Field in the past. Grazer, like I said, Azusa, Amulet, or Dryad are all Amulet cards. So things all come together pretty well. Done on Primeval Titan, but I do have Storm the Festival, which can help get access to Spelunking because it's a really important card. And just get you more green shells or whatever other stuff. So yeah, nothing too spicy in the main deck, just like a random Radiant Fountain. You can't tutor it, but you can use it with the bounce lands to gain extra life. And then a Cavern, some layers for things like control decks or whatever. But against people that have sweepers, it's nice to have this. Cryptic Caves and Deserts just to be able to redraw because your deck has, 31 lands in it. So it's nice to have that. Also, if you bounce a Desert with the Archway, you get to Surveil, which is pretty good value. And then an Echoing Deeps to copy Lotus Fields or Mirror Pools or whatever the hell you want. So yeah, explaining the deck, I think how the deck works is a little bit difficult, but there'll be gameplay after this, so you can check that out and things will make more sense. The side deck is just more caverns for decks with counters, Radiant Fountain for aggro decks. The sideboard, I don't know exactly what it should be. I ended up just building a deck as a mono green deck because it made things simpler. I'm not sure how to build a mana base for a 2-color deck anyway, so the sideboard's not great, but that's just kind of what happens when you end up playing mono green. But yeah, there's a Pick Your Poison, some Ratchet Bombs for Convoke, and we boarded in versus like aggro, and it can be good versus random stuff like Indomitable Creativity. Courser for Thoughtseize decks and aggro decks. Rasta for things like Phoenix and just like spell-based creature decks. And then some Baloths for Liliana's and aggro. And Thought Distortion for control. So I think that's about it. Let's jump into the first game. And you can kind of see what's going on. Get our 2x speed going. So I'm on the draw. I keep a kind of sketchy hand. I decide I'm on the draw. I have a Surveil land. If I find even a colorless land, I'll be able to play the Grazer into Lotus Field. I'm fortunate enough to just find a green land right away. So I get Grazer into Surveil, Bin an Animist, and I'm pretty set up. So on the draw versus an aggro deck, but they had a pretty weak start. I want to say they mulliganed. I guess not actually. But yeah, we're just good to go. This is our turn 2. We have Lotus Field, Voyaging Satyr, a Boreal Grazer to block, Storm the Festival in hand. If they can't answer the Voyaging Satyr, which I'm not sure if the decks that play the Coyote even have like shocks. I'm sure some people do, but I think for the most part they're just creatures and pump spells. So they play a Bushwhacker. I just block, make the obvious block. I want to keep my Voyaging Satyr because it's like a Gilded Lotus. They play Monstrous Rage. They decide to not kill the Grazer, which I don't think really makes sense, but whatever. Play a green shell, and then I actually mess up this turn. You might have missed it. I kind of went fast, but I didn't play the Lair first. This isn't something I thought about, but since I have Lotus Field, the Lair actually gets to come into play untapped. And I hit Crumbling Vestige, which means, I think in my head I'm like, it doesn't matter because I can't play the Azusa. But the Crumbling Vestige actually gives me mana because this land's going to come into play tapped, but Vestige is like really good in this deck. So it lets you have the ability to do that because I get 6 off the Lotus Field, so I have 1 floating, and then Lair plus Crumbling Vestige equals 3, which means I would get to play the Azusa, trigger the Turtle, and then play the Mirror Pool. So I would have a random card in my hand and all this stuff in play, which would have obviously been good, but not a big deal. I'm playing against aggro and I have this 4/6, so they attack again. They just Monstrous Rage. I think they double Monstrous Rage their Bushwhacker. They can't actually kill the green shell because the Monstrous Rage is only +2 because you can't stack the enchantment from it. So yeah, we're at 12, and I spew here. It doesn't matter that much. I tap Lotus Field, untap it, and play Storm and hit this stuff, and yeah, I make a note that I'm dumb. And I should be able to play these Grazers out and just trigger it more, but like I said, my opponent's playing an aggro deck, so it doesn't really matter. I just have this huge blocker. But now you should be able to, I think, yeah, this is the turn I go off, so you can kind of see things in action, at least this way. So the green shell's triggering. We're making a bunch of mana. I have a Storm. Now I use Storm. I finally find Spelunking, and Spelunking means I can just win the game here. All I'm missing is Analyst, but we get to draw a bunch and make a bunch of mana and while we look for it. So there's the Analyst, green shell, Voyaging Satyr, untap Lotus Field, play Analyst. I just need to find mana here. And we find another Lotus Field. So now that's another 3 mana. So you'll note this basically happens every time you're going off. You want to use Lotus Field to sack Lotus Field because you end up getting the most mana that way. Because it makes 3 mana with the Spelunking, so that's the card you want in the graveyard. So you have to be careful with how you manage your mana and how you sack and how you set up your graveyard and all this stuff. So if you do want to try this deck, it probably takes a lot of practice. It's pretty hard to play, but it's kind of sweet. So, all right, more green shells, more Lotus Fields. I know I have another Analyst, so I'm just putting all my lands in my graveyard, getting as much mana as I can, and I'm just waiting for Ulvenwald Oddity at this point. You don't have to worry about decking yourself because the turtle doesn't actually draw. It's like a Risen Reef. Yeah, there's another Analyst. A million more mana. Radiant Fountain can get sacked and come back, gain me more life. More Lotus Fields. I think I could probably skip forward. I also have these Mirror Pools. I don't end up using them, but you can just Mirror Pool the turtles to keep going as well. There's the Witch's Cottage. I just use that to put a turtle back. And yeah, just more stuff. Play creatures, trigger your turtles, get more mana, get more lands. And I think, okay, sorry, I'll go back. So I finally found the Oddity, put it into play. We have a gazillion mana. I could get more mana, I think, if I wanted to. I could also, I could use the Lotus Fields to sack the Cottage and then use Animus to make more mana, and then get back Cottage, and then put Animus back, and then use, a Cycle Land or whatever to redraw. But we just get the Oddity into play, flip it, use 2 Mirror Pools, copy it twice. I could actually do, more damage if I just copied the green shells, because we only need one of these. This is +1/+1 in haste. Trample to everything, but it means I don't have to do the triggers, so. This is turn 5, attack them for a good old -137, and there's game 1. Gotta get the screenshot, of course. Alright, so for sideboarding, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to sideboard cards out. So I'm kind of just figuring that out right now. Take out the Cavern. Take out all the combo stuff. I don't need... Like, if your opponent's not going to sweeper you or be playing a combo deck, you don't need the oddity stuff. So you can just take that out. You can just beat them with turtles and random stuff. So I take out the Cryptic Caves. It's just like a grindy card. I don't think we're going to be grinding. I take out Witch's Cottage. I take out Cavernous Souls. I take out Oddity. And then... I think I ended up not boarding in the Baloths, which was really stupid. But I think I just, like, convinced myself in my head that they were going to Slick Shot Show Off me. Which, the Coyote means that's not going to happen. And even if they were Slick Shot Show Offing, I should have put in the Baloth, so... Alright, so yeah, we're on the draw. I keep a kind of sketchy hand. I think I should have just mulliganed this. It's just, I don't know, Ratchet Bomb on the draw, who gives a shit? And they just have Kumano, and I think I just get annihilated. They actually played the Lizard here. I guess this is a card that they're boarding in versus, like, combo decks. I don't think it's actually very good versus my deck, but I guess it can trigger against Storm. Whatever. But yeah, they just have Cubano into 2-drop, Monstrous Rage, beat me down. Use the... Oh, whatever, this guy, the Cactus dude. Pump their guy, do a bunch of damage. I Ratchet Bomb off the 1/1. But my hand's just too slow. I think when I kept this hand, I was hoping that I would draw, like, a way to ramp or a way to block or something like that. But I just shouldn't have kept it. I should have mulliganed. And yeah, I put the Baloths back in. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And I take some Storm the Festivals out just because they're high mana value. And like the same way with, like, the combo stuff, you don't need to do that much to beat them. I think you just need to just control the board and get to the turtle is probably the best plan. So this hand is, I don't want to say perfect, but this hand is pretty nice. It doesn't have a payoff, but it has Voyaging Satyr, Lotus Field, and a Cycling Land. So hopefully we'll just find something. And if I'm super worried, I can just play the Ratchet Bomb. But I think I end up just playing Voyaging Satyr. So Courser's a good draw. They have Kumano, which is always scary, but we're on the play, so it gives us a good shot. Alright, so Swift Spear attack me for 2, play a Mouse, and I draw Spelunking, which makes this hand pretty spicy, I think. I don't remember exactly what I do here. I think it's just play Spelunking. Yeah, play Spelunking, put in Lotus Field, sack the lands, play Courser. And then gain my life. And just play Grazer as a blocker. So I'm at 18. I have 7 mana. I'm drawing Storm. I have a Courser they have to deal with. It's going to gain me life. Got Grazer to block, so pretty good spot to be in. They play a Coyote, get their Mouse a counter, and they just pass. I'm kind of surprised they didn't attack, but I guess they just knew I was going to get to eat a guy. They weren't going to get in that much damage. They didn't want to bluff the Monstrous Rage. I think I would have just blocked. So, in their defense, it probably would have worked out poorly for them. But let me rewind really quick. Gotta get better at doing this. But, okay, so we go. Play Storm. Hit Archway and Baloth. Archway is gonna give me extra mana since I already have the Spelunking. Now I've gained a ton of life. Don't have too much to worry about at this point. And I have the Storm flashback, which is actually relevant because I can make so much mana with these Voyaging Satyrs. Hit a Crumbling Vestige. That's gonna make me 2 mana. There's a turtle on top, which is nice to have. I think I just play up my hand. I definitely want to put the Voyaging Satyr into play. The Ratchet Bomb maybe doesn't matter that much, but it does. They do have 3 1-mana cards, so I should probably do that. And they go... I think they just alpha here because they top decked a way to pump their guys, but I'm pretty sure it's just too late. I have 24 life. I have a Storm the Festival. I kind of have everything I want. Like, they have to deal with these Voyaging Satyrs. I have the Ratchet Bomb to clear the board, so yeah, they attack. I block. I probably am not supposed to block this Voyaging Satyr, but I think I just kind of didn't care. Darkest Command. Some stuff dies. Nothing really bad happens for me. And what happens on return? Okay. So we draw the green shell, play it, get a Dryad. There's a Crumbling Vestige, that's +2. And just cycle. Now we have an Azusa. Use Voyaging Satyr, untap. Play Azusa. And I'm pretty confident at this point that even if I don't go off this turn, I think whatever I do this turn is going to be good enough that the game's going to end. So I'm just kind of going through it fast. There might be a small mistake here or there, but I'm just mostly clicking buttons. So there's Dryad, trigger green shell. I think I'm out of gas here mostly. Oh no, there's a land. Okay. Get a surveil, graveyard the Baloth, because why not? It doesn't really matter. Alright, jump on the board and just hit him. And I think that's it. I think my opponent kind of sits here for a second and then eventually concedes. But that was match 1. You can kind of see how the deck works. And this is a good example of how things can go post board if you don't have to combo. Like, you can just do stuff like this and you'll be able to win. Alright, so there's another match. We are against Gigantha, and they are on the play. They play turn 1 Kumano. So normally that's scary, but I have a pretty insane start, I think. So I have Grazer into Vestige. Vestige comes in tap, but it's going to make green mana. And then I have Grazer. And so this is a turn 1 Lotus Field. I guess I decided not to do that. I'm not sure. Yeah, I suppose the Lotus Field is awkward because now I'm just using this bounce land to bounce itself. Maybe I wasn't even supposed to do this. So they go Kumano, Swiftspear. I just take 3 because I know these are going to have value blocking 2/2s. Draw Lair, play Azusa, and I assume I just play my lands. Play Lair, play Archway, play Lair again. So yeah, that's what I do. And now I have Green Shell again versus an aggro deck. We have 15 life, bunch of Grazers. So even though my opponent's start is really strong, they have Kumano into 1-drop into Kumano on the play. But it kind of just doesn't matter. So yeah, they use all their mana. They didn't have their 3rd land drop, but now put a 4/6 into play again versus an aggro deck. Out of Voyaging Satyr. And what do I do with this Archway? I guess I can just loop the Archways for surveil value. I assume that's what I do. So there's another green shell. Let me speed this up. Yeah, this time bounce the Lair and then replay the Lair. So they alpha. I block just the obvious blocks, and then they pop the Beaumont Courier, which means their hand is just garbage, just like guys that it's the what is it called, Lava Runner, which needs spells in the graveyard to have haste, so they're just 1/2s. And yeah, play another turtle. I'm at 10 life. I think Moto freezes here, but turtle into Voyaging Satyr, draw some cards. I have a Grazer, and I think that's enough for them. And now for sideboarding, I should probably try to go over this a little bit better than I did last time. So yeah, I'm going to take out the combo. I think I trim on Storms, and then obviously having the Baloth. This matchup's a little different. I have a Rasta because I think they're going to be a little bit more spell-based. I don't know if I actually end up leaving it in. I trim Voyaging Satyrs, unlike versus the other deck, because I think they're just going to have shocks. And then take out Caverns, and like I said, all the combo lands. So mulligan the first hand, it's just too slow on the draw. I decided to keep this hand, which is kind of bad. I think I'm just banking on just top decking like a Grazer or something. And we draw Radiant Fountain, which is pretty nice. We have the the ability to draw a bounce land and gain more life, but it's also just nice to have the extra 2 versus a burn deck. Top deck Voyaging Satyr, which is exactly the type of thing that I wanted. I don't know if it's going to live or not here, but Grazer, Voyaging Satyr, just whatever 2-mana card is what I was looking for. They're just doing their beatdown thing. They have a light up the stage. And they brick on a shock. So I'm not even sure if they have all their shocks in. I don't remember. Whatever. I was going to say I don't remember what I showed them in the first game. But all right, so now I'm figuring out what I want to do. Because I can do some kind of crazy stuff where, like, I can Spelunking, Lotus Field. I can Lotus Field untap Voyaging Satyr. I can also just, like, have the Lotus Field in the graveyard and then use the Echoing Deeps to become a Lotus Field and do a bunch of stuff that I think is unnecessary. So, yeah, just play land, play Spelunking, Lotus Field, Voyaging Satyr, cycle, and then I top deck a Rasta. So that I was going to just play the Baloth, but my life total's high, and this just means they can't really play spells. So that's good enough. And all right. Okay. So what do we have next? Gigantha revealed. Don't remember. I think I play against 3 Giganthas. Okay, on the play. What do we mulligan? No. So this hand's pretty good. This is one of the reasons I think you can play a deck like this. Is just like having a bounce land makes a Boreal Grazer so much better because you just have this land, regardless of all the combo-y, untappy stuff. You just have this land that is effectively 2 lands, right? Like it just draws you a land when you play it. And one of the problems with Grazer is always just like sometimes you mulligan and your hand just doesn't have enough lands, and that means that you just get rid of the Grazer. And I think you'll see a match where I don't mulligan a Grazer and I regret it. But yeah, the bounce lands are really nice just for this exact start where you just go forest, Grazer, bounce land. And you kind of have like a super Llanowar Elf that can't die. So my Dryad gets Thoughtseize. Drawing the Oddity kind of sucks. If anyone has a suggestion for like a better combo card than an Oddity, I'm all ears. But that's just the only thing I could come up with. So we just have a 4/4 beatdown. Not super exciting, but just play it. I'm not even sure if it's correct to attack. I think at this point I'm assuming they're playing Sacrifice because they have Gigantha. So they're not necessarily mid-range. I think that the like Jund sack pile is popular. But they play a Swamp. Only red-black lands in a Fable. So I don't know. At a certain point I figure out that they're probably the tree deck. But yeah. Again, the point about Grazer still kind of true here, where even though I have the bounce land and the extra land, it kind of doesn't do anything at this point because I just don't have more lands. Opponent's thinking about Fable. They discard Thrill Seeker, which gives it away, and then they play a Soul Cauldron. This pumps the creature I block, and at this point, I need to draw land. Or I need to hit Green Shell, excuse me. I did draw land, right? Or no, I already had the mana. And we miss on Green Shell. I think it's kind of just over, because this Thrill Seeker is going to mean that all the creatures they play can just become flingable. And if I'm not close to comboing them, I'm just going to get burned out. So we take our draw step. This match was kind of annoying, I think. The Soul Cauldron really just... they ended up using Soul Cauldron to, like, exile one of my Voyaging Satyrs. It eats the Storm the Festivals. It eats the lands for the Animist. I don't know if this matchup is terrible. You'll see a game where we kind of combo off, but it was a little bit annoying. Also tricky for sideboarding because I kind of want the Ratchet Bombs. Or I kind of want Pick Your Poison, I mean. But they have these blood tokens, and like Fable is like killing a Fable with Pick Your Poison isn't that great feeling. I decided Courser's probably decent enough. It just blocks all their stuff and gain me life, and it's grindy. So, and then I think taking out Grazer versus these Thoughtseize decks is pretty good. Like even just like Sack, like the decks that aren't super fast, I think it's fine to take it out. But yeah, I think I just don't sideboard too much. I believe I take out Cavern and a Grazer and then put in 2 Coursers. So mulligan to 6, put back the Oddity, and I have a really sus hand. But I'm against Thoughtseize. I mean, I think the first hand is just like a 1 land or something. This hand is kind of 1 land, but kind of not. And we're lucky enough to top deck, so. So yeah, this is kind of tilting, where they have turn 1 Epicure, and then they have Soul Cauldron, but my analyst milled a Voyaging Satyr, so now they ended up, they get to play their Cauldron, and now their guy's just like a sort of an Elvish Mystic. They duress me, and I'm left in this spot that's kind of awkward, where I have analysts, they can eat my lands. Fortunately, I have a bunch of lands. I have Lotus Field. I top decked another land, which is a really big deal. You'll see how this plays out, but kind of awkward. And I'm hoping, like, if they Thoughtseize my Storm, then they just get to eat it with the Cauldron, and I get all these lands, which is nice, but I won't have anything to do. They play Inti, attack, use their blood token, find a land, and then they Thoughtseize the Storm. And we play our Surveil land. Lucky enough to mill a land. I decide that I'm just going to pass. If they use the Cauldron, then I'll just pop it things in response. But it's kind of awkward for them, because they miss a Cauldron activation when I have Storm and they want to grow their creatures. I think so. Yeah, they go after the Storm. I Lotus Field. It makes sense. If they go after a land, then I just do it anyway, and I get to keep the Storm. So it's a wasted activation. So get back a bunch of lands. Nothing too crazy, but copy a layer, get a layer. Unfortunately, we found a green shell for our draw step, so we do have something to do stuff with. They're just filtering their hand, drawing cards with NT, adding to the board. Green shell's also nice versus these decks because it doesn't die to Fatal Push, even if they have Revolt. So that's pretty nice. Okay, green shell finds Azusa. Azusa finds a bounce land, which is really nice. I get a Surveil. I can get back the desert. So this is a nice little grindy engine. And I'm also just getting more lands in my graveyard for the analyst. Not that it's a super big deal, but it's nice value. So there's a Voyaging Satyr. So I'm just praying that this green shell doesn't die. I'm also praying that I don't die, because they find Tree of Perdition or whatever and put me to low life and fling me. So they attack with NT, goes to a 5/5. If I block with a green shell, they can just grow it. And they exiled a tree off the NT this time, and then they cast it. So I'm pretty stoked. I did not expect to be in this game in this way, but some fortunate draw steps, and they just didn't have removal at the right time. And I have all this mana too, so the analyst mills were good too. So now I get to copy my green shell with my mirror pool, and we are hoping to find a Spelunking and win the game. And there it is. So now I'm like, oh, okay, I can actually win. I really did not expect to be in this game after they went Epicure. I play Analyst. I mill Voyaging Satyr, and then they play the Cauldron and get the extra mana. It kind of just wrecks my hand. I get double duressed, or no, excuse me, I get double discard spelled. I think in game 3 I get triple discard spelled. Does not go as well, but that's fine. So here's Analyst. I'm just looking for mana. I got a Storm in the yard now. Their Cauldron's down, so I don't have to worry about anything. I can just do my thing. Alright, so now I'm checking for lands, trying to see if I can blow up any lands, do anything. I just want to make sure that I have 4 mana for an analyst. And in between that, I'm trying to optimize the lands in my graveyard. So blow up analyst, get a bunch of lands back, and just make mana. And I'll probably just skip through most of this. It's pretty straightforward. Like I said before, you just want to make sure you're sacking your Lotus Fields. And then eventually you will get your Witch's Cottage or your Ulvenwald Oddity. So more mana, more stuff. Use the Cottage to put Analyst on top. Lotus Fields, yada yada yada. Sack the Cottage so the Analyst can get it back if I want. Radiant Fountain, doesn't really matter. More stuff, more Analyst. This deck's kind of miserable to play online, but these Amulet style decks are always for sickos, so I'm sure the people that like this type of stuff don't mind too much. So yep, more mana, more stuff, more mana, more stuff, more mana, more stuff. Grazers, and the last card of my deck is Ulvenwald Oddity, unfortunately. But we've got plenty of time on the clock, so it doesn't matter. And yeah, attack for however much this is after drawing our deck, because yeah, minus 118. That was a turn 6 kill, not overly impressive, but we did get discard spelled 2 times. Yeah, I'm thinking about these Ratchet Bombs. I don't really know. Like, their deck's kind of weird. I'm not sure if I could go back in time and just like pick a card against the tree combo deck. What would I want? Maybe it would be like, I really don't know. Like, not having a way to remove creature permanents kind of sucks. Like, there's no Dismember in this format, so they can sort of just like play Blood Tithe Harvesters and Inties and just beat me up. And if you just have Graveyard Hate, then you're vulnerable to losing to that stuff. So, all right. So Mulligan. I think this might be a game where the mana gets me. The mana gets me a few times. I would consider retooling the mana base. Maybe take out some colorless lands. Just like the one-ofs maybe. And just have like green cycling lands, something like that. You could play the green sphere too. It's just like a Horizon Canopy type land when it comes up play tapped. So I think I mulligan. Keep a kind of awkward hand. I just have like turn 2 Analyst, some mana, Spelunking, Storm the Festival. Mulliganing versus the discard spell deck obviously sucks, but we get Thought Seized. Draw a Radiant Fountain, so that's some nice extra life with the bounce land. Opponent plays an Epicure, discards. We draw a Grazer. Play some lands. And I think I maybe mess up with my mana sequencing too. This game's awkward though. But they discard Leyline. They true Leyline for turn. Leyline's not a thing I'm really afraid of. But it can be annoying for sure. I think you can beat it just by like doing turtle stuff. But get Thought Seized again. Now my last card, Storm. I have a kind of awkward mana base. Get Thought Seized again. So mulligan to 6, get Thought Seized a million times. There's the Cauldron, and the Cauldron means they get to eat the Storm. They have Alpine Moon for Lotus Field, so now my Lotus Field's not going to make that much mana. Obviously, we draw Lotus Field. Play it. It still gets tapped for green, so that matters if I draw another Storm. But now we're at the point where I kind of just have nothing going on. They played a million discard spells, and now they just have little idiots that are pecking me. I think that's how the game plays out. We just don't really draw anything, and then we die. So there's a Courser. Again, just kind of like your typical green combo deck, green creature deck versus Thoughtseize deck, where they just pick you apart, and if you don't draw your high impact stuff, you just kind of die. So that was a cool match, though. Like, the second game obviously shows the power of the deck and how it works and how it goes off. So it was useful for that, at least. All right. What is this match? Okay, this match is stupid. If this is the one I think it is. All right, opponent reveals Yorion. I love the companion mechanic. Anyone that knows me knows I'm such a big fan of it. Mulligan into this kind of awkward hand. Is this a mold of 5? I believe this is a mold of 5. I think this is. I mentioned earlier about like my mistake with mulliganing. I think I end up keeping this grazer, and I regret it. Funnily enough. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, I have 4 lands, and I need to get this storm out quickly. I don't exactly know what they're playing, but I know they have Yorion. I think the Yorion means I just put back the grazer. I think that was my biggest mistake. So you'll see. So up the beanstalk, draw a land, draw another storm, and then they have this. So yeah, this is really hard to beat. Anyone that's playing against this deck, it's just like 80 card pile that has Splinter Twin. You just kind of die. It's also funny to call it Splinter Twin. Like, imagine if Deceiver Excite cost 0 mana. But yeah, at this point, I'm thinking, okay, they're gonna get Elishorn, and I'm gonna die. They don't actually do that. They get Glarb because they like to party. Unfortunately, we draw Uvenwald Oddity, which doesn't really do anything. Trades with the Glarb, and then they just like Kenrith me, and I die with a bunch of storms in my hand. All right, so for sideboarding, I cannot imagine I do much. I don't think I sideboard. I consider Pick Your Poison, but they just have like Up the Beanstalk and just like random Nylea's Presence, stuff like that. I don't think I want Pick Your Poison. If it was a Disenchant, I would want it, but okay, this game is nonsense. I think my opponent just misclicks. Like, you see them discard to hand size. I can just go. This is just like me goldfishing, but I can. If you want to watch comboing, you can watch that. But yeah, my draw sucks too. I just draw like a million lands and the Oddity again, but it doesn't. I mean, they discard to hand size 4 times. So eventually, after my opponent just doing nothing, we start getting to a point where we can combo, use Analyst, get all our lands back. We have Green Shell, yada yada yada, stuff, and they make us do it. I kind of surprised they didn't concede, but I guess they wanted to see what my deck actually did. So fortunately, I had the Oddity early, which made my hand awkward, but it also meant that I could put my opponent out of their misery. And then this next game, I think I just don't sideboard. So I kept this 7, which I think is just shitty. I'm not sure. Like, I have the Cycling Land and a Grazer, which is nice. But I think I just end up doing nothing this game and dying. Yeah. So we're just doing mana stuff. They're doing nothing. Mana stuff. And then they Leyline Binding on their turn 3. And then they Enigmatic. And I just have a bunch of mana. So I could have mulliganed this hand. Like I said, I don't think I played this league super well. The deck's kind of complicated. But yeah, there's a Titan. Blows up my Dryad. Doesn't really matter. Draw another land. They just sort of beat me up. And I think I just give up. Any enchantment is just like, I can't win this game. So unexciting. Won the game where my opponent just like discarded the hand size, but lost the others. This was kind of just like a stupid match. I don't know. Just one of those games. All right. I think this is another game match that is like that. This is the last match. So I am on the draw. I mulligan. My hand doesn't have any green. I think I just get mana screwed like this entire match. This is probably the match that goes back to the comment I made earlier, which is I would consider changing the mana base a little bit. I think I just have too many colorless lands, and I just die to whatever my opponent does. So they have turn 1 Oven. I mulligan into this hand. It's not great, but it's got Spelunking, which is what I want, and some stuff. So they have Oven, Blood Tithe Harvester. Not a big deal. So here you can kind of see where the problem lies, which is I just have 1 green land and I have a bunch of colorless lands. We draw Cryptic Caves. This is one of the 1-ups I mentioned that could just be a cycling land. Like, if this was a green cycling land that came into play tapped, maybe I could have won this game. But they just play Fable. Like, this is a good start. They use their mana on 1, use their mana on 2, use Fable on 3, all on the play. But I think that, like, if I had a better draw, I might have been able to actually beat this. Like, what they're doing is, like, all their cards are good against, like, they're fine Magic cards. But if I could actually do something powerful, I think I could have won. But yeah, again, we draw another of our 1-of colorless lands instead of a green land. So So Dryad's great. It actually kind of fixes my problem. But I can't get green and 2 mana, so I'm trying to figure out how I want to play out my hand here. But also, I'm pretty sure the Dryad's just going to die, and then I'm going to go back to having 1 green land. So I'm trying to figure out what I want to do. End up just playing a green shell, hitting a green shell. Not exactly what I want, but... And here's Mayhem Devil. And I assume my Dryad's going to die now. So yeah, they do whatever they do, Witch's Oven stuff, Mayhem Devil, kill a Dryad, and I think I just concede. I guess I play my turtle and probably die. Play turtle, get some lands, get an Animist, and I think I'm just off of it. Like, I know that they have Cat Oven, Fable Activation, Harvest. Like, they just have everything. So, whatever. Just a slow, shitty start, and then we die. So, sideboarding, looks like I put in... Oh. Alright, looks like I'm putting in Ratchet Bombs and Radiant Fountains and Coursers. I think I can get behind that. Pick Your Poison's a little bit better because they don't have as many things that produce blood tokens, just the Harvester, and I can pick off like Oven or whatever. So I think I try that. And then you can take out the Cavern. And... trying to figure out if I think I need to combo them or not. I think because they have Igra, they can combo kill me, so I decide that I do want to combo kill them. And I end up just taking out some Grazers, because like I said, their deck's not that fast. Okay, so I keep this hand, and I'm like, oh no, I kind of keep this hand knowing, like, I'm not going to draw green mana again, and I'm just going to die like an idiot. This one's my fault. I think that's all that really happens. I should have mulliganed. They probably have some discard spells, so I was like, yeah, well, maybe I'll just draw Forest and reuse this Crumbling Vestige a bunch of times, but I don't think that's how things play out. So I have this Courser I can't cast, I have this Green Shell I can't cast, this Grazer that doesn't do anything, and these Storms I can't cast. Draw Spelunking, draw another Spelunking, and I think I give up. So yeah, some of the matches weren't super exciting. But I hope that the videos were at least able to help people that look at this pile of cards and like, okay, what does this amount to? Help people understand like how it combos and what's the point of all these things and what's the role and what they do and how the deck works. But yeah, I hope people check this out. I hope people enjoy it. And I'm sure there are people that are much better than I am at building decks like this that maybe can get it in a better spot. Like I said, the mana base could use work. Not having any removal spells obviously sucks. But the deck's pretty sweet. It's pretty powerful. It can do some interesting stuff. And it has the advantage, I think, over something like mono green, where sometimes you're playing mono green and your opponent just like kills your elves and your hand kind of sucks. With this deck, I don't think you have to worry about that too much. Obviously, Voyaging Satyr can just die, but you're relying a lot of the time on Grazer and Spelunking to get your mana. So that's kind of cool. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's a pretty cool deck. I think there's a lot of different things you can do and ways you can build it. Spelunking's a really, really powerful card. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see y'all later.